Hello, and you're all very welcome along to another episode of the Gaelic Statsman podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Hurley, and it is another episode in the interview series that we're doing for the off-season in Gaelic Games. I'm delighted to be joined by members of Berlin GAA. First of all, Marcus Hogan, and then Charlotte Bull as well. I'll be discussing the Berlin GAA with Marcus and Charlotte throughout the episode here. Just before we get into the episode, I want to mention our sponsors at Capture Athletics. If you want the best gear around, check them out if you haven't already. So first of all, Marcus, how are you doing at the moment? You were saying that off air there that it's warm enough in Berlin at the moment.
Yeah, thanks very much, Matthew. Thanks for having us on. It's fairly warm over here at the moment. It's about 32, 33 degrees, but I think it's to cool down the next couple of weeks, so I'll be a bit more accustomed to that. Like it's the last couple of training sessions have been fairly tough going with the weather, like the way it is. But all good over that, thank God.
Great to hear. And how's it all with you, Charlotte? Keeping well?
Yeah, glad to be here as well, and all good with me. As Marcus was saying, it's been hot enough here, and certainly made trainings a lot harder work. But enjoying the summer, and all good.
Yeah, great to hear. So just to start off, Marcus, where did Berlin GAA begin in a sense? Because obviously you have some brilliant clubs abroad. You have clubs in Paris. Even interview last week I did with Equator Days Uganda. You have New York and London. Loads of clubs abroad. So where did Berlin GAA all begin?
Yeah, I suppose it was probably part of a wider trend over the last couple of decades of kind of a more establishment of GAA, Gaelic Games in general on continental Europe. Like obviously, as we know, like in Britain and the US and even Australia, like those clubs over there are well established and have really flourished over time in those regions. But in Europe, it probably took a bit longer. And over the last 2 decades, really, we've really seen a growth of the game over here. So Berlin GAA started in 2014. That's when the club got affiliated, and we've been a dual club since the beginning. So Gaelic football and hurling, camogie is what we offer here, and it's gone from strength to strength, really, numbers wise. I think the club was building very nicely for a couple of years from 2014 onwards, and then obviously with the COVID pandemic, maybe took a bit of a hit to the numbers as every club did, really. But since then we've come back out with that really strong over the last 2 or 3 years, really strong out of the pandemic, and our numbers now are as good as ever, I would say. Like we've 50 plus active members, and then obviously people that float in and out as well, and kind of more social members as well. So we've been really going from strength to strength over the last, this is our 10th year now. This is our 10th anniversary year, and I think to see the progress that has been made in that decade really is really encouraging. And I suppose myself and Charlotte, part of the running of the club, our job is to kind of leave it in as good a state as we found it, because it really has been a series of building blocks over the last decade.
You mentioned the series of building blocks there, Marcus, and you Charlotte as well with the ladies football there as well. And Marcus mentioned camogie as well, the ladies side of things in Berlin GAA as well. You don't see many clubs abroad go down the route of LGFA and camogie. So what's it been like to kind of do the running of things with LGFA and camogie to spread the game abroad like it has so far?
Yeah, definitely. So I think on the kind of LGFA camogie side of things, we have a lot of players. We're a real mix of players who maybe grew up playing the sport, but then dropped out of playing it, maybe as they got a little bit older. So people then kind of rediscovering the sport now abroad and kind of getting in contact with it again. And then also players like myself and lots of others in the team. I'd say a good half or so of our members are people who haven't grown up playing LGFA or camogie and have started it in Berlin. And that's through the club. So especially on the women's side, there's a really big focus on developing players, involving new players, getting them into the kind of, getting involved with the club and everything attached to the sports. And yes, that's been really encouraging to see, players coming in and rediscovering team sports or rediscovering LGFA and camogie for the first time, and then really being active members in the club. And so we've definitely seen that over the years.
And you mentioned, Marcus, the way that hurling and football is incorporated in many ways across Berlin GAA in many circles. How important is that to incorporate both Gaelic sport and Gaelic football and hurling across Berlin GAA?
Usually, like, I mean, myself, like, I'm from Kilkenny, like, so when I came over, I only really had intentions of playing hurling, to be honest with you, like, and I was delighted that, that offer was there, like, and then I suppose, like, Gaelic football is no more so than in Ireland, like, I suppose geographically the spread in Ireland and the numbers playing Gaelic football would be that bit greater than in hurling, and it's no more so the same in the club, really, like, we would have a majority of our players would be Gaelic footballers, but we do have a substantial amount of hurlers, and we're really healthy hurling numbers this year in particular. Actually, like, I'm a coach on the hurling team, and yeah, like the numbers this year have been really encouraging. Like, so I think that's an area where we have grown, and we plan to continue to grow. But yeah, it's about offering, people, as Charlotte said, like, whether they've grown up playing in Ireland or elsewhere, or they're really just coming new to it, like fresh to it here in Berlin, like, that we have as broad an offering as possible, because you can get people, you have a broader net then for people to explore their interests. And we have had people, starting hurling from scratch over here, whether they be from Germany or elsewhere, so it is very important to have that broad offering.
And Marcus mentioned the broad offering there, Charlotte, and I suppose with numbers, and you mentioned that earlier in the chat as well, with the LGFA side of things, the Camogie side of things, across the whole club, is it fair to say the numbers have risen over the last few years as it's gone on, obviously with your 10-year anniversary this year? Is it fair to say that the numbers in Berlin GAA have gone up and up and up as the years have gone on?
I would say so. Obviously, as Marcus mentioned, COVID was a difficult time for all clubs, I think, had to adapt. But even during COVID, we were offering kind of online trainings and different ways to still connect and stay in contact with each other, both on the social side, but also staying fit. And then I think since coming back and getting into like regular trainings, especially this season, we've seen a real like resurgence and real kind of building in numbers, both on like the hurling and camogie side, but also on the ladies and Gaelic football side. Like, we've had big numbers. I was looking, I think, at the last training we had on Wednesday, we were looking at over like 30-40 players just turning out on a Wednesday evening, and so I think the numbers have been growing, and it kind of breeds a lot of excitement around the club, and kind of a good energy there.
And that's brilliant that Charlotte mentioned that the numbers are going up, Marcus. And I suppose like a lot of questions about clubs abroad is like if people do get opportunities abroad, whether it's in Australia or the United States or Canada or the UK or any other countries such as Germany itself. And once they get the opportunities abroad, they have the opportunity to play Gaelic games even in those specific areas. That's great to see as well, even for yourself and Charlotte to come over to Berlin and have the opportunity to play Gaelic games.
Yeah, it is. It's brilliant. Like, I mean, it offers you, I suppose, like, so myself come from Ireland, like, that to maintain that connection with back home, like, and it's obviously something I was passionate about back home, and when I moved over here, it's a passion I wanted to continue it, and the GAA club was the perfect mechanism and kind of body to do that with. Like it is. That's not just in my case. Like, it's the case all around, and I think, as Charlotte mentioned there, like, the numbers are so strong and so encouraging, like, that we, for a club and in continental Europe, like, it can be difficult at times. Like, we wouldn't have the resources, say, that clubs in like New York or in the East Coast of America, somewhere like that, or London even, for example. We wouldn't really have those resources, the facilities or whatever. But we're just, I suppose it's just the very essence of Gaelic Games, really. It's just a community, a group of people, a group of friends, and meeting up on a Wednesday evening, a Monday evening, doing a bit of training, going to these tournaments then whenever they come up. It's real kind of basics of what Gaelic Games is about, really, is just this community feeling and this group feeling that we offer to people. And I think that's what's unique about playing Gaelic Games over here.
Charlotte, I think I seen an episode on TG Car, I think it was about 2 years ago, it might have been a year ago at this stage, of people that had Gaelic Games backgrounds going abroad and then still playing Gaelic Games in those countries, whether it be in Germany, in France, in Spain, in Italy, in Argentina, in America, in Australia. So how important is it for Irish people to just to keep their tradition going and playing Gaelic Games in a city like Berlin, which is absolutely huge in sport, I'd imagine, as well, with the Olympics happening in the past few weeks? Soccer, I'd imagine, is huge in Berlin as well. So how important is it for Gaelic Games to keep alive in a city like Berlin?
I think Gaelic Games inhabits a really special place in the Berlin kind of sporting landscape, because of course, yeah, as you say, like there's lots of other sports available, but it's so much about, as kind of Marcus mentioned, the community that we have around the club and the sport. That of course we're there to play sport, but it's also about having that connection with the Irish tradition, with people connecting with their kind of a wider community, and so I think that's a real special thing that we can offer in Berlin, and also connecting, with kind of Irish companies, organizations out in Berlin, and kind of representing and being part of that landscape here in the city.
Just as a matter of interest, Marcus, do you have places to train while you keep fit in Berlin, or where do you train in general?
Yeah, no, I mean that's probably our biggest question, kind of like occupying the committee every year. Like, but no, we do. Like, in fairness, we have a place on Saturdays. So we train. Our training schedule basically looks like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. So on Mondays we would train for hurling and camogie. That would be in Schiller Park, which is basically a public park. So we rock up and hope that there's a space, and like 99% of the time it works out. And the same goes then for Wednesdays with Gaelic football. It would be a Wednesday evening in Schiller Park, which is kind of, as I said, a public park, kind of in the north of the city centre. And it, again, just rock up with cones and footballs, and hopefully people get the picture that we need a bit of space. So that's kind of how that works. But on the weekends, then we would have, we actually do through the kind of local sport authority here. We have rented a pitch. We have been renting a pitch for a long time now. Again, kind of in the north of the city, and that's a space there in Jungfernheide, it's called, where the club has been associated with that now for a number of years, and it's great to have it. Really, it's a great facility. There allows us to get good quality training in that maybe sometimes we wouldn't be able to do in the other place in the public park. So yeah, no more so than any other GAA club in Europe, like, or even abroad in general. Like, the facilities are probably a challenge, but we make the most of what we do. Like, we still get good high quality training sessions in, even if it isn't a public park. And sometimes, it just goes to show that's all you need is a few cones, a few footballs, and lots of people turning up. Like,
I suppose what Marcus said there, Charlotte, so does that just epitomise the community aspects of Gaelic Games, that even if you're training just Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, you just need a few cones and just to get together, just to get the camaraderie going amongst the club. And it's a great escapism, I suppose, for people that work during the week and then play Gaelic Games during the evening. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think absolutely it is that opportunity just to come together and to switch off from whatever you might have been dealing with at work or whatever. And I think also one benefit that does come with, training in a public park is we're very visible then. People see us, they come by, they ask what sport we're playing, they try it out. We've had several new members join the club because they saw us training. And I think that's a really wonderful thing, that we can be very visible in that sense. So whilst, it can bring its challenges, finding a place to train, being able to turn up with our cones, our balls, with our equipment, and then just go for it. I think it's both chance for a community within the club, but also opening it out and being visible for the wider city as well.
Has there been any thought in going to the GAA World Games, Marcus, or have you done so already?
Yeah, we did last year. Yeah, so we sent. I believe, Charlotte, you were even there, were you? I think. We did to Derry last year. No, Owenbeg. We sent a team as part of the Team Germany amalgamation. So we had, I think, Berlin GAA. We had 6 or 7, maybe even more. Charlotte, you might be able to better speak on this, so you can come in. But we did that. That is something that we were involved in previously as well, previous to my time here, and something again we would be involved in the future.
And Charlotte, Marcus mentioned that you would know more about the GAA World Games there. So if you want to spill the beans a bit.
Sure. So I think there was I think it was about 7 of us, and kind of reflecting the club's makeup, we were a mix of a couple of German players, myself, one of our players from Japan, from America, went over and were representing kind of with Team Germany, then with that kind of Berlin GAA, and it was a great event, and the chance to also like play in Ireland and to play against all these teams from around the world. And I think that's something that I've really, the longer that I've played realizing that it's not just the chance to kind of meet people and connect with people within Berlin, but also the connections we have, not just across Europe, but also then around the world. And it was a really a special event to see so many players coming from so many different backgrounds, so many different countries coming together. So yeah, it was a very special World Games last year.
Charlotte mentioned the many nationalities there, not just Germany, but Japan there, as you mentioned there as well, Marcus. Like, that's absolutely brilliant that loads more nationalities know about Gaelic games in general. It's absolutely brilliant to see.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. Like, it's really encouraging to see. Like, and I suppose it's probably reflective of the city that we're in as well. Like, Berlin is such a multicultural city. It's always been a kind of a place where people from all over the world have been interested in and come to, and want to come to lay down roots. Like, so, and that's why I suppose we're a kind of a microcosm of that. Really, like, we just are open to everybody. Anybody that wants to come down has a modicum of interest in Gaelic games. They're welcome to come down to a session and try it out. Like, whether they've played all their life growing up in Ireland or elsewhere, or they haven't never seen it, as Charlotte said, maybe just come across it in the park or something. We're always open to that. And I suppose it's just reflective of the surroundings in which we're operating. Like, Berlin is just you meet people from all over the world here. Like, you can't go around the corner without hearing 5 or 6 different languages. Like, so it's really, that's the environment we're operating in. I suppose the environment we're happy to operate in and we're thriving in, really.
You mentioned the different nationalities there, Charlotte, that have incorporated Gaelic games into their DNA in many ways. There have been rumours over the last year or so, I don't know, are they actually true or not, but there were rumours that Gaelic games could be an Olympic sport in a few years' time, say 2032, 2036. Do you think that would be a good thing for the Olympic Games, considering the amount of nationalities that represent Berlin GAA already? Do you think that would be a good thing to have in the Olympic Games?
I mean, yeah, I think it would be a good thing, and especially that experience last year at the World Games, seeing what an international sport it is. I think there could be great potential there, but I don't know if Marcus has any more thoughts on that front.
Well, I wouldn't complain about it anyway. I'd be deadly like to see it. Like, I'd say, like hurling being played somewhere I don't know, like in Brisbane or wherever the host cities are for the next couple. Like, look, I mean, I think anything that grows the profile of the game, I think is good. Like, there's obviously lots of discussions back home about, with the season format and everything like that of the intercounty season. Like, how do we best promote the game? How do we best like get our put our stall out there and advertise our game, like, and learning from other sports and learning from other arenas. Like, we can always take something from them. And I think if it was the Olympics, like, what better platform to promote Gaelic games than the Olympics? Like, it's really one of the very, very few sporting events where people are tuning in from all corners of the world, and no matter where you go in the world, you're always going to know people, or people are going to know the Olympics. So if the Gaelic Games was involved, then it would be huge for the sport, really.
I suppose it would be great in general, because even from my own personal experience, I just watched the Olympic Games and see these different sports I wouldn't have watched in a normal time, say like basketball or sailing or fencing or any of those sports. I would just be intrigued by watching them. So, like, for GAA to be on a world kind of event like that, I know there's a GAA World Games, Charlotte, but if GAA Games was in the Olympic Games like that, it'd be brilliant to see see different cultures, watch an Irish culture kind of sport in Gaelic Games as well.
Absolutely, and just anything that can create more, as Marcus said, like, grow the sport more, and open it up and make it more accessible, ever more accessible to different people, I think is a great thing. Yeah.
And Marcus, how big has social media been an impact for Berlin GAA as well, just to spread your name a small bit across the globe?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it's fundamental really to our kind of retention strategy and getting people, like, growing our club. Like, I mean, Berlin, like, I'm sure it's a kind of a familiar pattern or familiar story for GAA clubs kind of across the world, but like it can be so transient sometimes. Like, people come to Berlin for a couple of years and then they're gone again. So you always have a relatively high level of turnover, like, say, compared to your local club team back home. Like, we would have a relatively high level of turnover. So we're always, we always have a need really to advertise ourselves and to keep our name out there and to have a certain amount of input, like, or output on social media. And then also as a kind of a channel for people to get in contact with us. Like, a lot of our a great many of our members like would get in contact with us firstly through social media, like just giving us a message on Instagram or replying to a story, or then just on Facebook or something like that. Like that's how we get a lot of members. Like, so it really is a kind of fundamental part of keeping the numbers up in Berlin, like, and keeping trainings healthy, all that kind of stuff. So no more than I'd say it's a familiar pattern or a familiar story, I'd say, for a lot of GAA clubs abroad, that you really need to be active on social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever, like just to keep your name out there and keep your name kind of out there for people to discover.
I think social media has had an impact, as Marcus described there, Charlotte, for you. Like it's been brilliant, I'd imagine, for the club.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one special thing that one thing that often happens that I always think is quite special is people either be messaging just before they're about to move to Berlin and they're wanting to know, okay, where can I come when I get here? And being able to be that kind of port of call and add that kind of, just help people bridge that transition from moving to a completely new city. So yeah, I think even just in the last couple of trainings, we've had new players coming and they've moved, within the last week or two to the city, and then are coming along to training, getting involved. And I think that's such a wonderful thing that we as a GAA club can offer, that they can get in contact via social media before moving or just after moving, and I can immediately get involved. And so that's been a really wonderful thing that social media gives us. Yeah.
I asked this to Equator Games Uganda GAA last week, Marcus, and I'll probably ask the same question to you. Do the members in Berlin GAA have Gaelic Games icons in many ways, like a Mount Rushmore type of a player, or do they just play the game by the love of it?
You mean like within the club, like, or like for icons from back
just
home?
just general any icon really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that like there's a few figures within the club anyway who've been here like a long time. Like, if I may say so, like even Charlotte, like, who's been on the ladies team for a long while. Like, I'd say players coming in, you know what I mean? They see the example that Charlotte and a few others set on that team, and that's kind of what they, you know what I mean? That's kind of gives the impression straight away. Okay, this is what we're about. These are the people that have been here a long time and putting in their effort, and this is the standards that we set in the club. Like, you know what I mean? And I suppose we'd have a few members like that who've been here for a number of years now and really set the standards and really helped grow the club. And then I suppose like it depends where like people come from back home, like from Ireland. You could it depends on your county, I suppose. Like I came over. Obviously, as I said, from Kilkenny, like, so I've had to grown up watching Kilkenny hurling. Obviously, maybe not running as so smoothly as it now as it once did when I was a bit younger. But yeah, like it just depends on your background. Like people bring their own kind of like their own inspirations really from where they're from and all their background and all like that. So it's definitely different from person to person. But as I said, like we do have a few people within the club as well who I really think I know when I came in anyway a couple of years ago. Like I definitely looked up to pretty much straight away and saw that the effort and the kind of drive that they brought to the club, like, and that was really a motivating factor for me to get involved as well, like on a kind of a deeper level on the committee and stuff like that.
Charlotte Bull, a Berlin GAA icon. How does that sound, Charlotte?
I'm very flattered. I wouldn't. Yeah, no, thank you very much. But I do really relate. I wouldn't necessarily include myself in that group, but yeah, I really relate to what Marcus was saying about coming to the club when I joined. Like 6 years ago now, and because I came new to GAA through joining Berlin GAA, coming new to the sport, I did definitely look at kind of the more senior players and look how they treated training, how they treated the club, how involved they were. And so definitely taking those role models within the club, and that can set such a tone for the community, for how we kind of train, how we look after each other. And so I can definitely relate to that.
You talk about being a pro Kilkenny man yourself, Marcus, but would Kilkenny be the most popular county in Berlin GAA?
Not at all. I think it's only me. No, like, to be fair, we do have a good spread. Like, obviously Dublin is probably disproportionately represented, like, just as with anything, like the Dubs just kind of get their hands on anything and everything going. So good few Dubs, and a lot from Galway, Cork, a couple from like Tip, Limerick, up the north as well. Like, so we do have a good geographic spread, but yeah, unfortunately just myself kind of flying the flying the Kilkenny flag. But hopefully we'll you never know, over the next couple of years. As I said, there's always members coming in and out, like, so you never know. And in a future time, we might have maybe a stronger contingent. Probably not going to rival Dublin anytime soon, but we might get there a few more anyway.
I suppose on the LGFA and Camogie side of things, Charlotte, the games, have there been many from the country of Ireland go over to play LGFA and Camogie once they get job opportunities in Berlin?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, kind of off the top of my head, we've got also represents a lot of Dublin, Galway, also from we have a couple from Armagh, so various different places. So people coming over from Ireland and then bringing the traditions with them. Yeah.
And maybe just to end the podcast, just a final question for both of you about the future of Gaelic Games abroad. We've seen Marcus in previous years, London beating Offaly in the Tailteann Cup. We've seen New York get that victory over Leitrim on penalties as well. We've seen Gaelic Games grow in countries like Uganda, which was mentioned on the podcast last week, in Australia, New Zealand, in China, in obviously countries like Germany as well, in the UK, in Spain, in France. So what do you think the future of Gaelic Games abroad is, in a sense? Because it seems like to be a bright future ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. I think it is going from strength to strength, and I suppose the structures have been put in place. We get through Gaelic Games Europe, like for our region, for example, and the kind of the subcommittees, the regional committees. Are putting in huge amounts of work to grow the game and to develop all aspects of the game, really, and interest in the game. I suppose, you mentioned there, London. You've seen London get a few league results. Obviously, Tailteann Cup results. Obviously, New York last year beating Leitrim in the championship. That was a kind of a watershed moment, really, for clubs abroad to see, a county team like New York kind of going into the championship, like the inter-county championship on the men's side anyway, and getting a result. It was huge. And I think, I suppose that's an area where we're focused on as well. On the men's team, for example, we're playing next week now in the European Championship semi-finals, the 15-a-side senior football championship. So we're in the semi-finals. We're playing Nantes in the semi-finals, and then hopefully, if we got through to the final, then we'll be playing, I think, the winner of Amsterdam or Barcelona. So the winner of that, in Europe, if you win the senior football championship in Europe, then you go into the junior Leinster championship. So Berlin ourselves, we won it in 2019. We played then across in Adamstown in Dublin then a couple of months later, and it's just teams been getting closer every year in that Leinster championship fixture. No matter who comes out of Europe these days, they're competitive. I think Amsterdam, they had won it last year. They only lost by 3 or 4 in the end, and I think it was close all the way up to the final whistle. So they're getting more competitive over here, and one day we would like to see, no matter who it is, really, obviously we hope it's ourselves this year, but no matter who it is, we'd like to see that team break that glass ceiling and maybe win a Leinster championship game in the football or hurling, and then go from there then, and you know what I mean, once that kind of glass ceiling is broken, I think it'll really resonate with a lot of clubs to think that they can really do this and really compete with clubs back home, because it's up until now maybe that hasn't been the perception, or maybe hasn't been the case, but I really think we're getting closer, and one day it definitely will happen, as we've seen, with New York last year, for example, one day it will come.
As Marcus mentioned there, Charlotte, the route to the final there, the route to the Leinster Championship, you have Nantes, then obviously Barcelona or Amsterdam, obviously 3 very tough sides. But if the opportunity was there to get to the Leinster Championship, it'd be huge, not just for Berlin, but for those cities as well, like Amsterdam, Barcelona, absolutely huge cities as well.
Absolutely. And I think just looking at the development of Gaelic Games in Europe over the past 10, 15, 20 years, there's still so much more to come. And as Marcus kind of said it so nicely, once that, glass ceiling is broken, who knows how it develops. And I think, there's really strong sides coming out of Europe, and the development is ongoing. So, I think it's a very exciting, very bright future coming.
It's great to see, and I wish you all the best of luck, obviously, with that game against Nantes, and potentially a final against Amsterdam or Barcelona as well. But before we end the podcast, Marcus, we know obviously about your social media, but where exactly can we find Berlin GAA on social media or on the internet itself?
Yeah, so we do have a website, it's berlingaa.com. It's very simple and memorable, I suppose. But on Instagram, Berlin GAA, that's really where we're most active, is on Instagram. We do have Facebook as well. If you look up Berlin GAA on Facebook or Instagram, you'll find us. And we're definitely very active. We're also hosting a tournament in 2 weeks' time the 21st of September for the regional last round of the championship. So Central Eastern Europe is the region we operate in, and we're hosting the final round on the 21st. So there'll be lots of content around that in the lead up and on the day. So definitely check us out on Instagram or Facebook, and you'll get to see all of that.
It's absolutely brilliant, and obviously best of luck to the whole club in the game against Nantes, and potentially later on in that junior championship as well. And that's where we bring the podcast to a close. It's great, obviously, to have Marcus and Charlotte here to talk about Berlin GAA. I thank both of them for their time today as well. Thanks to everybody that viewed this episode. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks to Capture Athletics for sponsoring today's show. And until the next time, we'll see you all then, and take care. Thank you to both Marcus and Charlotte for joining us.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks very much.